new American Javelin is so powerful that it is sure to send Russia and its allies panicking. NATO countries have contributed billions of dollars in military aid to Ukraine's defense against Russia, and the FGM-148 Javelin, a US-made anti-armor weapon that costs around $176,000 each, is one of the most capable and expensive weapon systems supplied that has been supplied. These lightweight anti-tank missiles have been wreaking havoc on the Russian invaders and have aided the underdog Ukrainians in inflicting significant damage on Moscow's famous military and halting their advance. What's so special about this weapon? Why is it so effective? Stick around till the end of the video as we explore these questions and more. The FGM-148 Javelin, also known as the Advanced Anti-Tank Weapon System Medium AAWSM, is a portable anti-tank missile system manufactured in the United States that has been in service since 1996 and has been modified on a regular basis. In the United States, it took the place of the M47 Dragon anti-tank missile. In contrast to wire-guided systems such as the Dragons, its fire and forget design uses automatic infrared guidance, allowing the user to take cover immediately after launch. The Javelin's high explosive anti-tank or heat warhead can attack modern tanks from above where their armor is thinnest and is also effective against fortifications in a direct attack flight. The explosive reactive armor, ERA, that most tanks have can be countered by the Javelin. When struck by a warhead, ERA boxes or tiles placed above the vehicle's main armor will explode. Steel panels fly across the course of a heat round's narrow particle stream, interrupting its focus and preventing it from cutting through the vehicle's primary armor. The Javelin has two shape-changed warheads that work together. The ERA is detonated by the weaker, smaller diameter heat precursor charge, which makes room for the much bigger diameter heat warhead, which subsequently penetrates the target's primary armor. The precursor has a two-layered molybdenum liner, and the primary warhead has a copper liner. A blast shield is employed between the two charges to protect the main charge from the explosive blast, shock, and debris created by the missile's nose impact and the precursor charge's detonation. This was the first composite material blast shield, as well as the first with a hole in the middle to generate a less diffuse jet. Though the Javelin's dual heat warhead has proven effective against tanks, it was mostly used against weapon crews and teams, buildings, and lightly armored and unarmored vehicles in Iraq and Afghanistan. The Aviation and Missile Research Development and Engineering Center designed a multi-purpose warhead, or MPWH, for the FGM-148F to make it more usable in these scenarios. While the new warhead is still dangerous against tanks, it includes a naturally fragmenting steel warhead case that doubles its effectiveness against personnel due to increased fragmentation. The MPWH includes a lighter composite missile mid-body that can be swapped out for existing Javelin tubes without adding weight or expense. The Javelin has a tracker, and the tracker is essential for hit guidance and control. The signals from the Seeker's 4096 detector elements are delivered to the FPA readout integrated circuits, which read and generate a video frame, which is then sent to the tracker system for processing. The tracker assesses whether or not the missile has to be corrected by comparing individual frames. The tracker must be able to figure out which part of the image is the target. Javelin is a fire and forget missile with automatic self-guidance and lock-on before launch. When targeting armored vehicles, the system uses a top attack flight profile, striking the thinner top armor. When targeting armored vehicles, the system uses a top attack flight profile, striking the thinner top armor, but it may also launch a direct attack against buildings, targets too near for top attack, targets under obstructions, and helicopters. It's called a Javelin because it attacks tanks like a spear from above. It has a top assault altitude of 150 meters and a direct attack altitude of 60 meters. The initial models had a range of 2,000 meters, but it was eventually increased to 2,500 meters. It has an imaging infrared seeker on board. A precursor warhead is used to detonate any explosive reactive armor, and a major warhead is used to penetrate base armor. A soft launch arrangement ejects the missile from the launcher to a safe distance from the operator before the main rocket motors fire, making it difficult to identify the launcher, while a backblast from the launch tube still poses a threat to adjacent troops. The firing crew can move or prepare to fire on their next target as soon as the fire and forget missile is fired. Although one soldier can fire the missile system, it is sometimes carried by two soldiers, a gunner and an ammunition bearer. The ammo bearer searches for potential targets, watches for dangers like enemy vehicles or troops, and ensures that troops and obstacles are clear of the missile's launch backblast, while the gunner aims and fires the missile. Not only has the American-made weapon become a symbol of resistance, it's also been called Saint Javelin, in a meme developed by Canadian marketer Christian Boris, which depicts Mary Magdalene, an Orthodox church saint, holding a javelin in her arms. The javelins, quote, have taken on a symbolic value outside the military, according to Mark Kanshian of the Center for Strategic and International Studies. The javelins are the Ukrainians' most sophisticated and effective weapon, but they aren't the most numerous, Kansian said. Russia has about 4 times the number of troops as Ukraine's army of 130,000 soldiers, and it also spends roughly $78 billion on its armed forces each year compared to Ukraine's $1.6 billion. However, just a quarter of Russia's military is fighting in Ukraine, with the remainder stationed in the Caucasus or protecting the Chinese border. Meanwhile, Ukraine is fighting on its own soil with 900,000 reserves. The FGM-148 Javelin is one of more than 1,700 anti-tank weapons supplied to Ukraine by NATO via Poland since Moscow's forces invaded, and evidence of their effectiveness was quickly demonstrated when the Russian tank that advanced on Kiev, the capital city, was quickly stopped in its tracks. The Ukrainians have celebrated the Javelin's success by posting photos of their soldiers wielding the weapons with photos of Russian tanks that have been destroyed. Though there are no official statistics on how many weapons the Javelins destroyed, in Ukraine, journalist Jack Murphy claims that out of 300 shots fired, they destroyed 280 armed vehicles. These missiles are quite successful at piercing reactive armor, which most tanks have. Small amounts of explosives are inserted within this kind of armor, which detonates any approaching warhead. However, javelins are made to get around this. According to Kansian, it is also easier to teach people how to fire these missiles, which could be important in Ukraine where citizens are lined up to fight. Before we conclude, be sure to like, share, and subscribe for more content just like this. On day 38 of the war, Ukraine's Javelin missile destroyed a Russian T-72B3 battle tank from the 205th Motorized Brigade at a distance of 2,300 meters. This comes a day after the two sides met online on April 1st with high-level visits taking place all around the world. In Kiev, EU Parliament President Roberta Metsola met with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, and in New Delhi, Russian Foreign Prime Minister Sergei Lavrov met with Prime Minister Narendra Modi. The United States delivered 300 missiles to Ukraine at the end of January after sending another 180 projectiles and 30 launchers in October of 2021. President Joe Biden announced last month that the Ukrainians will receive another $350 million in U.S. military aid, including more Javelins. Do you think the Russian troops will find a way around these Javelin attacks? Let us know in the comments section. Also, check out our video on Message to Russia. NATO MiG-29 pilots strengthen air defenses by massive numbers of F-35.